that wasn't his out of Connecticut. I mean, there's something going on here that seeks to keep his name off the state ballot during the March presidential primary. The judge's decision now sets the stage for a January 26th hearing on the issue of Fulton County. And it just goes on from there. You can find that article at Infowars.com. It's also linked on the right-hand side of DrudgeReport.com. With some other interesting news. Obama in unprecedented power grab, breaking a rule and law set by Congress by Democrats to recess appoint a whole bunch of federal judges. Lock up your daughters, your sons, your guns, your gold, because these people are criminals. They'll ship guns into Mexico, drugs back into the U.S., blame the Second Amendment even when they're caught. And they'll let MF Global take money and have the guy that did it in the White House, and nobody gets in trouble. I mean, these are gangsters running the country. Very, very creepy. In fact, creepy doesn't even hold a candle to how crazy this has gotten. And here's the headline, another headline. America, a Mormon from Massachusetts wins Iowa. What do you think is going to happen with evangelicals who've said they won't vote for a Mormon for whatever reason once he gets in there? Romney's a ringer for Obama. I mean, only somebody like Bob Dole could lose. Mittens Romney, just like Bob Dole against Bill Clinton. I mean, that was a ringer. And they're going to do it again. This is how the corrupt ruling class do this. Everybody else up there is a stuffed suit, a teleprompter reader. I know you know that. We got to get this message out to people. They're starting to get it, but not fully. The only person who's real is Ron Paul, and that's why the entire system, including Al Gore, came out last night and said, don't vote for Ron Paul. He's a kook. He's a nut. This is a confirmed con artist scammer who says he invented the internet and wants you to pay him money to breathe. I mean, it's too rich. Here's some of the other news. This is out of CNS News. Planned Parenthood's annual report, they got $487.4 million in tax money. Well, that's just federal. Here in Travis County, where I sit doing this radio show, Austin, Texas, they take money from every business in the city and they pay it for Planned Parenthood to open up more offices than Starbucks. Basically on every corner. They're in the schools counseling the kids. They've got it where they can get 13-year-olds to have abortions without parental consent. So why not in California have the governor, and he did 3 months ago, sign a bill saying they'll give your kids shots without consent. They're not going to stop. Oh, your 13-year-old's pregnant? We're going to take them for a medical experiment. But we're taking them to the chop shop. But if your 13-year-old wants to go to the state fair with the school or go to the planetarium, you better get a letter signed. But hey, put them in the stirrups and get the knives going and the vacuum cleaner going. Knock yourself out. Mommy and Daddy don't need to know. Hey, some experimental shots been killing people? You bet. Get ready. It's fun. It's great. It's not a human life, and parents shouldn't be involved. And then Planned Parenthood, here where I live, has like cover articles in the Statesman and the Chronicle and other birdcage liners who thank God, especially the Statesman can barely stay afloat, and the rest of them, I mean, because nobody's going to read your garbage soon. I mean, the trendy, windy Chronicle, because it acts trendy and, sniveling, it has a few trendies reading it. But it's always about how Planned Parenthood's under attack and there's fundraisers and everyone scurrying around. I'm going to do some more reports on Planned Parenthood with the quotes, not from 50 years ago. We've got those, but the new ones where, yeah, we got to get more fundraising to get rid of these blacks. Hey, can I give money just to get rid of the blacks? Oh, you bet you can. All those audio recordings. Oh, yeah. What about Mexicans? Oh, yes. Oh, we'll get rid of those. And they've got them in all the minority neighborhoods. And then you've got all the paid off minority groups who'll never talk about it. Because they're there to give you racial consciousness, to have race war in this country and racial division the government can control, not to actually stop your babies from getting chopped up. The La Reconquistas won't tell you about that because they're paid for by the Ford Foundation, who wants to make sure you're deader than a hammer. But here's the report. Right here, according to its latest annual report, the Planned Parenthood Federation of America received $487 million in tax dollars over a 12-month period and performed 329,455 abortions. In addition, the number of adoption referrals made by the organization continued to decline. Even though there's a huge premium on babies, including minority babies. I always hear the talking point by Planned Parenthood and others about who's going to adopt the brown and black babies. There are Christian groups lined up around the block that will adopt mentally retarded brown babies. But the issue here is that Planned Parenthood is a racist organization. They're dedicated to it. You know, real racists don't run up in some clown Nazi outfit that's usually, you know, some globalist, you know, group out there trying to get a hate law passed, and, you know, half of them are federal agents up there. I mean, this has happened over and over again. It's come out over and over again. Real racists come up and go, I'm liberal. I mean, and have the NPR lisping, affected voice. That's like an army tank driving up to run over you and your family playing ice cream truck music. We're friendly, we're loving, not threatening. Yeah, they're threatening. Again, it's camouflage. It's trendiness camouflage. Loving, care so much about you. And it's just disgusting, absolutely disgusting what this organization does. I mean, the Margaret Sanger quotes about, we got to hire black leaders, the blacks don't trust us. And once we get enough black leaders posing as liberals, we can exterminate these weeds. And again, let's just be honest about it. Okay, and at every liberal black group I've talked to or Hispanic group, they won't talk about it because they're funded by it. They just like going to the meetings and having the families come in there with their racial consciousness and bash Whitey all day and sit around and feel real good. Meanwhile, the leadership knows full well what they're doing. In fact, Jesse Jackson, you can go back to the records, would talk about this till they bought him off. I mean, how much money does it take to get you to sell your people on it being trendy and cool to get your kids killed? And then people say, oh, well, look how many criminals we've already got and problems, and who wants to pay for it? You get rid of the welfare, you encourage the family, and then these problems would disappear. The globalists want social rot. They don't want the problems to disappear. It's on record. Before welfare and breaking up with the family and saying you can have money, but you can't have a man in the house in the 1960s, black illegitimacy was only about 40%. Now it's 92% nationwide. And they come back with a politically correct statement of, oh, don't bash single families. I'm just saying you're 4 times more likely to end up in prison, 3 times more likely to be on drugs. I mean, it's hard to keep your children under control with 2 parents. The wages of the New World Order is death. And so next time you're hanging out at your public school or your college at some slack-jawed socialist, La Raza, Mecha, Reconquista, Black Power group, whatever it is, comes in there, and it's usually led by some white wannabe hippie who's actually Ford Foundation funded and actually wants to kill you deader than a hammer. A lot of them actually know it. The thing is, they're not just dumb hippies, even the low-level ones. They actually want to kill you. That's what's sick. But they're trendy, and they got beads in their hair. Oh, I'm trendy. So you don't know where the real killers are. And they'll send in their guys. I've seen them. I've actually been at these events where they got a guy, you know, who's trying to dress up like Pancho Villa, have the big mustache, and shut up, gringo. Alex Jones is scum. He's filth. He's your enemy. And I'm like, you're funded by the Ford Foundation to abort Hispanic babies. Shut up, Jones. We're going to get you. Ugh. And then later walking out to your car. So what? We run things now. Hey. I mean, you're like, you actually know? That's right. And we're going to get you. It's like, oh, you're killing your people. Isn't that cute? See, they know how to package things. They know how to package things. They know how to do it. And you've got to understand it. I went off into a side rant. One time I had an anarchist come up to me and he goes, he admitted he worked for the feds. I mean, these are just scum. And they've got camouflage on. All right, we're going to come back, get to your calls, get into all the other news. Stay with us. Speaking of vaccines, again, every week or so I see articles like this. This is out of the Buenos Aires Herald. GSK lab fined over vaccine tests that killed 14 babies. And every week or so, it's like Poland or Argentina or Brazil or Nigeria or Pakistan. They're giving people experimental shots that in some cases kill the majority of the people. Like 50 homeless were given the bird flu vaccine in the Polish town. 32 died. In fact, type in 32 homeless die after vaccine test. That's London Telegraph. The point is, or you can type in, children given polio by polio vaccine, CBS. I mean, it's just, and then they're telling you, you're crazy if you don't just roll your sleeves up and take whatever shot we want to give you. And they always get a fine. They were fined 400,000 pesos. What is that, like $5,000? Argentine Laboratories Company was fined 400,000 pesos by Judge Ogoninsky following a report issued by the National Administration of Medicine, Food and Technology for the killing of 14 babies during illegal lab vaccine trials conducted between 2007 and 2008. Likewise, two doctors, Hector Abate and Miguel I can't pronounce it, have been fined with 300,000 pesos each for irregularities during the studies. And it just goes into all these kids dying. And that's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I just constantly see these reports. And then we're like, we don't trust that. Here's a report out of WLS. Brownsville, Texas. Police have shot and killed an armed 15-year-old at a middle school in South Texas, Brownsville. Detective J.J. Trevino says police received a call around 8 a.m. Wednesday that there was an individual with a weapon at Cummings Middle School. Police found a student with a handgun in a hallway and shot him. Cameron County Justice of Peace Kip V. Johnson Hodge told the Brownsville Herald the student died. Shooting remains under investigation by people that did the shooting. But the gunman was an 8th grade student at the school. They say the school was immediately placed on lockdown so he can shoot everybody if he was a shooter. And no one else was injured. Trevino said he had no information on why the student had the gun. Who even knows? You know, if it was a fake gun, you'd never know that because they'd cover their behinds. So there's some of those reports. And I see these kind of reports every day and never give them the attention they should. This is out of New York Daily News. And it says, teen mom shoots intruder on New Year's Eve to protect 3-month-old son. And I see this all the time where, the lady shoots the intruder and then the media ask, was it right they did this? They told a recently widowed teen mom shot and killed an intruder to protect a 3-month-old son on New Year's Eve after asking an 911 operator for permission. You don't need permission. Local media reported. That was just like the woman in California asked permission while the guy's busting in, and she keeps shooting him, and he keeps coming. Sarah McKinley, 18, was alone with her son in Blanchard, Oklahoma home at 2 p.m., December 31st, when two men tried to break in. Her husband had just passed away from lung cancer on Christmas Day. Wow. She grabbed a shotgun, called 911, and begged for the operator to send help. Well, you had help, lady. She stayed online. I bet it was your husband who bought you that gun for a terrifying 21 minutes and asked the dispatcher if it was all right to shoot the men who forced their way in. I can't tell you that you can do that. What an idiot dispatcher, even in Oklahoma. You think they'd know better. But you do what